this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be going over alpha version 0.10, or you could call it alpha version 0.10. Really, what you should be calling it, though, is the audio update, because everything in this game sounds different. So we're going to start this off by going to Jungle Rock Island. There are a lot of audio changes in this update, but if I had to pick my top 5, number 1 would be all the vehicles now have an engine noise that makes sense for the vehicle. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to drive around a bunch of vehicles and let you listen to them. We'll start off with the D-Series. And now we're going to go ahead and change vehicles over to something that'll sound a little bit different. We're going to go with an Ibishu Hopper, and we're going to just get the ZXT6, which is a pretty normal version of the Hopper. And now I'll go ahead and swap the vehicle once again. We're going to now do something that'll be a little bit louder. We're going to get a Barstow with the 423 V8 Road Sport package. And if I'm not mistaken, up in front of us is a tunnel. Which brings me to another one of my top 5 audio changes for this update. When you're driving through an enclosed structure like a tunnel, the audio will now reverb in there just like a real tunnel. So when you're driving up to a tunnel and you want to downshift so you can hear your engine scream, you can do that in BeamNG.drive as well. So I'm going to let you listen to what the car sounds like outside the tunnel, and then listen closely to what it sounds like inside the tunnel. Hopefully you can hear the difference there. And you also got a good idea of what this car sounds like, so let's wreck it and go to yet another vehicle. We're going to go to one that sounds pretty unique, I think, which is the SBR4, and we're actually going to get a lower trim version here. We're just going to get the Twin Turbo S, not the Twin Turbo S2 like I almost always use. And we'll get it in a nice yellow color. Alright, that gives you a good idea how this sounds. Now let's do something really cool. If I'm not mistaken, we can go up the mountain and then come back to the road without any damage right here. Come on. Yeah. No damage. No damage at all. Oh, well, okay, we cracked the windshield. That's it. Anyways, let's go ahead and test a more pedestrian car. We're going to get an Ibishu Pestilence. We're not even get the 2.7. We're going to get the 2.0 version of the car, which is a very regular car. And I'm going to try to drive it flat out the whole time. That way you get to hear a lot of skid marks, which is another one of the top 5 audio changes to me, is that the skid marks sound a lot more realistic. Oh, we're coming up to a tunnel. I don't want to waste the tunnel on something like this. Let's wreck it before the tunnel so we can get a new car. Well, it didn't wreck in front of the tunnel, but whatever. See if it'll kind of roll backwards if we let it stop. Nope, it's just going to sit there. Oh, well. Let's just replace it then with something more fun. We'll go with an ETK I-Series, but we're going to get the track version, which used to be called the race version. Another thing, the names of a lot of the models have been changed. Same models, just different names. Okay, that should give you a good idea how this thing sounds. So let's try to find an interesting way to crash it. What if we just kind of slide all over the place and fall off the bridge right here? Can we fall off? Nope, didn't fall off. And instead, we're gonna just crash into some trees. So here's just a quick look at the damage right there. And now we can go ahead and swap to a different car. So we're gonna get the 600cc version of the Bishu Pigeon, which sounds a lot different than the smaller engined ones. And I actually like the way this one sounds because it's so different than every other vehicle. And it's a little bit quieter, so hopefully you'll be able to hear all of the birds in the background that sound different than before, which is also the top 5 of my changes. And now I'm done with this, so we're gonna go ahead and drown it. And if you thought it sounded like a motorcycle engine kind of, well, you're right, because it basically is a motorcycle engine in a car. Let's go ahead and reset this thing back up to where we were. Let's go ahead and move this thing out of the trees, and then we're gonna grab a different vehicle. So we're gonna go with a Civetta Bolide, and we're gonna get the 390 GTR, and then we're gonna talk about one of my other top 5 audio changes. And that is the position of the camera affects the way the vehicle sounds. Like in real life, if you're standing in front or behind a vehicle, it sounds different. And now it's the same in the game. So to demonstrate that, we're going to try to do a little bit of donuts right here. But I'm way too close for the camera for that to even work out. So let's get farther away from the camera, then do the donuts. And now I'll let you guys listen to what this car sounds like just in normal driving as well. Spinning out in the tunnel right there brings great shame to me, so we gotta drop this thing off the cliff and into the water, actually. Wait, is it gonna? Yes, it's into the water. Look at the tires pop off. Oh, they're floating along. I was still spinning, the car tips over. Okay, reset the Bolide, and then we're gonna swap it out for a T-Series and talk about my last of the top 5 audio changes, which is the vehicle sounds different when you're in the inside versus outside of it. So to demonstrate that, we're gonna use the relative camera and just kind of swap between inside and outside the vehicle as we drive along. And now we dump it into a hole. Ooh, that looked cool. That was a nice camera angle. And there's fire. Also, the fire is less loud, which actually should be in the top 5 as well, probably, because I was always complaining the fire was too loud. Now it's much, much quieter. And I like the way that the whole cab of the truck was just torn off by the tree, but everything else is pretty much perfectly fine. How in the world did I manage that? That is... wow. Ha! Anyways, we'll reset this and let you listen to the actual environment without the engines covering it up. It's pretty quiet compared to all the engines of the cars, but when you actually just kind of fly around like this, it's quite relaxing to listen to. And every map does have different sound effects, but I'm not going to go over all of them because I'm not even really sure if you could hear those ones quite clearly because of just how quiet they are compared to everything else. So anyways, the next thing we're going to talk about is the randomly generated, or procedurally generated is the actual proper term, tracks. So you go over to the time trial mode, and then you pick procedural tracks 18 times because it wasn't clicking. You could pick random track. Select, then you choose whatever vehicle you want to drive here. So let's say I wanted to drive an Ibisu Pessima track version because it has a new paint job on it. So we select that vehicle and then we hit play. When you first load it up, nothing really interesting there, but you hit start and it gives you a tiny bit of information. So in the top right corner of the screen, it says 0 of 27 checkpoints accomplished, and there's no lap counter. So you know this is just a 1 lap race that's 27 checkpoints long. And you notice on the road, there is this thing that looks like a road type thing, but I don't think you're actually supposed to fully stay on that all the time because like you have to go so slow on some of these corners to actually stay on it completely, and this is a race. Like I think it's okay if you go around the corners a little bit like this where you kind of slide on the outside as long as you stick with the route. At least that's the way I look at it. I mean, you could do it the other way as well, but I like having the feeling of driving fast, which you get by, you know, going a little bit wide in the corners like this. So anyways, this is all procedurally generated, and that is probably something you're familiar with. If you've ever played Minecraft, you're definitely familiar with it because that's how the world's generated, and this is using the same idea. And in the top right, you see there's a big old number and the word generate right there. That is the seed for the level, so if you don't like the level you're on, you just go ahead and hit generate and you'll get a different one. Well, you change the number, then you hit generate, otherwise you'll just get the same one over and over again. Now we're going to go ahead and finish up a route right here. And oops! Now, this is actually kind of something I should point out. The game won't let you come from the wrong direction. So you see, like right there, I went through the checkpoint the wrong way, and it's like, nope, that don't count. Try again. It actually has some detection right there to make sure you don't try to cheat a corner like I was almost doing right there. And the only reason I did that is because I didn't realize the corner was that tight right after the other corner, so I just kind of went through it too fast. But the actual checkpoints, as long as you're somewhere near the road you're supposed to be on, it seems like they will always work properly. I haven't had any issues so far with them not picking up. These ones, you have to be, you know, between the two gates, but otherwise, nothing super strict about them. This is actually going to take about 2 minutes. This is a little bit on the longer side compared to the ones I did earlier, which were only like 1 minute each, but then one of them also had laps. This one doesn't have any laps. It's one run and done. And done. We can just kind of pop the car a little bit. And then it tells you all the information about what you just did, and it gives you a total time, which doesn't really make sense because it shows the other time, which was for a different map because it's a procedurally generated one. It's not actually related to the one you were driving on, so you could ignore those basically. Unless your goal is to like find the shortest one, and then in which case you could use that, I guess. Also, I didn't mention all this information down here is new when you're doing time trials. I don't think that was there before. But anyways, we're just going to change this up a bit. We're going to say, what if that was a 0? And then what if that 8 was a 2? And then you hit generate. And then you got a new area to drive on pretty much instantly. Like a lot of the time, I'll edit out the loading for things, but that one, it's so fast you didn't need to. Now, you might have noticed right there, I had to reset the car to actually start the thing. I don't know exactly why that's happening. It seems to only happen when you're generating new maps every now and then. Anyways, let's see how this thing drives. It's only 14 checkpoints long, so we should be able to do the whole thing in about 1 minute, I would guess. And this one looks like it's a lot more kind of high-speed corners compared to the other one. The other one had a lot of real tight and difficult ones. This one's just High-speed corner, high-speed corner. This one's a little bit lower speed because it's a whole 180-degree corner, but still we're going through this at about 25 or 30 miles per hour, and then we're out of it already at 50. And we are actually getting pretty close to the end. Here's actually a tight corner that caught me off guard, and here's a real tight one. So, whereas I say, oh, this is all high speed, here's some not high speed ones. Also, I should mention, if you go to the menu and you choose the procedurally generated track area, you notice there's random and a bunch of others. Those are procedurally generated tracks, but they are given titles by the developers of the game. Anyways, that's the last checkpoint right there, so pop it and crash into that right there. Oh, okay, we'll crash into that instead. One thing that was fixed I really like is when you're doing a scenario or a time trial, if you hit free roam, you'll actually have your vehicle. It doesn't like reset it and change everything back to where it was when you started the scenario. It's just, that's how it was when you finished, that's how it is now. So let's go ahead and switch to the new map, which isn't really a map, it's just a showroom for thumbnails, which you shouldn't load up on your own because that's not what it was made for. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go to the UI apps button, and then you add the thumbnail generator and you put it wherever you want, and then you spawn up whatever vehicle you just made. So like, let's say you just made a mod, right? And you want to get thumbnails for the vehicle, you spawn it up, and then you click the generate thumbnails button, and it takes pictures of the car at specific camera angles, so it'll automatically have thumbnails and you don't have to do it yourself. Unfortunately, the thumbnails right here are a completely different style. You think, oh, maybe it brightens it up when it takes the picture. No, it's actually on a black background. The pictures it takes for the thumbnail are used for the garage area. So if you go to the garage area, you'll see that this is the style of thumbnail it does. Although it's still not exactly perfect because the thumbnails it takes pictures of don't have the transparency like this, and you can actually see behind it. But if it's a thumbnail that was taken with a button, you can't see behind the vehicle, so it does still stand out a little bit. Anyways, we'll get out of here. I like the pickup truck. I don't need a different car to start with. The pickup truck is great. And I think to continue things up, let's just go to grid map for some more testing. Now let me show you some changes to the node grabber. So to do that, we're just going to real quickly spawn up a sawhorse barrier right here. We'll get the one that says road closed. And just like before, you hold control and you can grab something and move it around. Also, you can middle click to hang it from a location. But here's where it gets a little bit different. So if you grab something, move it around, then hit control again, the nodes on another vehicle can light up. So if I go and just click on this node on the vehicle, it attaches the object to the vehicle. And you can attach vehicles to vehicles, objects to objects. It does not matter. Whatever your imagination envisions, you can attach. So now if we try to drive this truck around, there's now a barrier stuck to it. Just hangs about, bounces all over the place. You can try to strip it off the vehicle like that. And, well, I technically did strip it off the vehicle because it was attached to the door. But normally you can't separate them. You see right here, I am trying to pull with so much force. The things will obviously not separate no matter what, though. Would be interesting if eventually they had the ability to say separate the node with this much force or whatever. At the moment, though, it's just you attach it, it stays. Reset this, and then we're going to swap out the pickup truck for the drag version of the Barstow. And I know you guys probably want to hear what this sounds like, so I'll let you listen to it real quickly. So it doesn't sound quite as mean as I would expect a dedicated drag car to sound, but it sounds decent enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and park it over here, and we're going to spot up another drag Barstow. Well, first let me save this spot so I don't lose the spot. Save it. There we go. So we're going to spot up another drag Barstow, and this one we're going to get it in, how about Moonlight? That sounds like a fancy color. And then if we pull up in the menu, there's something new in the menu. It looks different. I need to spawn up 2 Barstows to show you that. So on the menu, you have little icons, and in the middle, it says what it is, and on the bottom, it gives you a little description as well. What we want to do, though, is we want to go to the powertrain and then Transbrake. So all the drag cars have a Transbrake, and if you engage it, you hold the throttle down and it just kind of holds an RPM just like that. And you use that so that way you engage it, and then you disengage it, and it launches the car, and it launches it a little bit better than if you were just to clutch dump it. And to prove that, we're going to do a quick comparison right here. So we're going to say enable Transbrake on this one, and then on the other one, we're going to say put it to realistic mode, so it's in neutral, and take it out of, there we go, out of parking. So we're going to go full revs on this, full revs on this. We're going to freeze physics. We're going to disengage the Transbrake on this one, and then on this one, over here, all we're going to do is shift it into gear, clear out the menu, get a little bit of slow-mo going, and then watch the wheels on these things. The one with the Transbrake, you'll notice the wheel starts to spin a little bit faster and a little bit sooner. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. You see the one with the Transbrake? That wheel is rotating. The other one, yeah, the wheel is rotating, but not as fast. And you can actually see the difference in the launch as this one pulls away already. We'll speed it up a little bit so you can see. Doesn't actually make it that much faster after the launch, but it did launch harder and faster, which is pretty important in drag racing. You know, that little bit of a difference in the launch can definitely make a difference. So let's just go ahead and bring this thing to full speed and see what happens with these cars. And that car's gonna ram into me. I'm gonna flip him over. Here we go. Flip this dude. Yeah, don't flip me. Oh, yep, we're upright. We're good. Wreck the car up a little bit. Well, okay, a lot of bit. And I guess we can go ahead and reset it and do the same for the other one. For the next thing I want to show you, we need a car with a manual transmission, so we're going to get a pretty normal version of a Hirochi Sunburst. The important thing is it has a manual, not a dual clutch transmission. Now, there are 3 new options related to transmissions in this game. The first one is a clutch assistant, which basically does the clutch automatically when you put the car into realistic gearbox mode. And if you don't use the clutch properly, you can now grind the gears, as I will now show you. Now, of course, you don't have to grind the gears there because I was actually not using the clutch at all. You can shift like a normal person as well. And there's also the option to have automatic rev matching, which I currently have turned off, but that basically makes it where when you downshift a gear, it'll automatically blip the throttle so the engine RPMs match up properly. And then when you're doing an upshift, it'll let the engine RPMs drop a little bit, even if you're holding the throttle down, to make sure the shifts are just a little bit more smooth. I have that turned off at the moment, so I can't really demonstrate it to you. And the last new transmission option is miss shift protection, which makes it where you can't downshift into a gear that'll put the RPMs way past redline. But I have that turned off, so let me show you what happens when you downshift into a gear that'll put the car way past redline. So the engine way over revved right there, and then it actually just died. Anyways, bring this thing back over to here, and then the next thing I want to show you is actually in the options menu. So we're going to go to options, then we're going to go to camera. So you can choose which cameras you want available to you. Like for me, I don't know when I would ever use the top-down camera, so I can turn that one off. And you can also set the default camera in the order of the camera. So if you always want it to default to the driver camera, then you just set it like that. But most of you guys like to see the outside of the car, so I set the default to the orbit camera just as it was before. And then also you have some options on the orbit camera, and you can go a little bit crazy with this. So this is called the dynamic field of view degrees, and it makes it where the faster you go, the more the field of view increases, so it makes it feel like you're going crazy fast. So let me get a faster car actually to demonstrate this to you. We'll go with just a Bolide real quickly because I want it to be as extreme as possible right here. And then here we go. Just gonna accelerate, and then watch how the camera just kind of feels like it zooms out a little bit as it increases the field of vision as we increase our speed. So it makes it feel like we're going really fast. It gives you that sense of speed, like you're being pushed in the back of your seat farther and farther away from the car. And this is the extreme of it right here. Like, this is way more than you would probably ever want to use, but it's the best way to demonstrate something is to go to the extreme. Then you could really see it. See, like now we're back to a close camera, and if we accelerate once again, it'll zoom out. It doesn't do the zooming out really too fast. It's nice and gradual, so you don't really notice it happening. You just notice, oh hey, it's zoomed out now. So like, oh hey, it's zoomed out now. And then if you watch real closely as we decelerate, you'll probably notice it zooming in because we decelerate a little bit slower than we accelerate. Yeah, you can actually see the zoom in happen right there. But because it's a field of view change, it's really kind of hard to notice unless you're looking at the change and seeing it. But you notice the difference after it changes. It's kind of weird to explain that. Anyways, that pretty much covers all the more generic changes to the game. If you want a full list of those, they're on the changelog. But now we're going to go over the vehicle-specific changes. So on the dry van trailer, there's actually a new option that's pretty cool. It's called the loading ramp one, which has a nice fancy skin on it. So we're going to spawn this thing up. And with this one, it's real easy to put a vehicle in it, except it's going to just rush vehicle, but oh well. So all we do though is we go ahead and hit open the cargo door, and it opens like that. It's a ramp that I don't know what will happen if you put a car below it. Let's see what happens. Oh, it crushes it. But if that car wasn't there, it will allow you to drive a car into it nice and easily, which I do want to demonstrate real quickly. So we'll move the car out the way, and then we'll get something that's a little bit easier to maneuver into there. We'll just grab a Pessima, because I want to, do a wheelie trying to go into a trailer. That just would cause chaos. So I'll do a quick maneuver right here. And unfortunately, it looks like that damaged the trailer because I did the car crushing. So we'll reset it. Make sure it looks good. Open the cargo door right there. It actually looks pretty cool because part of the ramp slides out from the door itself. It's a nice, fancy ramp right there. Now we're going to real carefully try to roll into this. There we go. And just like that, super easy to get the vehicle to the drive van trailer. Which is always weird for me to say for some reason. Drive van trailer. And you can close it and you can attach it and drive with it. Anyways, next vehicle change we're going to be talking about is the hopper, which has some new parts. And I don't know exactly what vehicle they're used on. So I'm just going to go ahead and spawn up a hopper and show you like that. So this might be weird because we had the vehicle inside of it. Okay, they don't overlap. Great. So the hopper has two new parts. It has a windshield bar, which should be available if we go to body and then scroll down a little bit to windshield. And then right here, windshield bar is empty, but we can put it on. You can see what that looks like. To load. There you go. So there's the windshield bar. We could actually turn those lights on if we hit the right key. Oh wait, I can't hit the key because I'm in that menu, I think. That's why it wasn't working. You know what? Just in case, because I don't remember what the button was for sure. Light bar. Oh, no, not light bar. We want headlights. Hi. There we go. Now you can see the bright lights. And then there's also a spare wheel cover you can put on your spare wheel. But I'm not going to bother with that. So instead, we're going to move on to the new things. The box utility trailer is new. It's just a trailer you can put stuff in. And then there's also the large box utility trailer, which is new. And it's different than the flatbed trailer. You notice this one has little lips on it. This one's a flatbed. It has no lips on it. And then there's also the new upright piano. And I'll spawn this one up so you can actually see it because it's a little bit more interesting than just a trailer. Now, if you're wondering what happens when you crash into it, well, let me show you. I think a hopper will work perfectly fine for this. We want to get up to about maybe 60 miles per hour on the impact. So it's a nice hard impact. So it'll accelerate away for a while. That should be enough to get up to about 60, or at least close enough to it. So quick 180 right here. I'll even put it on a little bit of slow-mo as I bash into the piano. So 8 times slow-mo. Boom in the piano. And it falls to pieces. That looked great. And then we're going to crash into a wall if we don't stop. And we somehow did. That was actually really lucky. And that will pretty much do it for this video. As always, if you want a full list of changes, do check out the changelog on the BeamNG.drive website developers blog. And until next time, this has been WhyBeAre. I'll see ya. Actually, I realized you don't get to notice this in slow-mo. Check this out. Sounds great, don't it? So in summary, here is the update, plus trailers, and most importantly, audio and new transmissions. There you go.